Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking a truly groundbreaking concept from Eric Berne's 1964 classic Games People Play. He proposed something, well, pretty radical. He suggested that much of our daily social interaction isn't genuine communication at all. Instead, it's actually a series of unconscious psychological games.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about a totally frustrating conversation that you've had, I don't know, 100 times. You know the one. Maybe you're complaining to a friend or a partner. They offer a perfectly logical suggestion, and you just shoot it down with a yes, but over and over again. Why do we keep repeating the exact same arguments? Why do we stay locked in these annoying little loops? Well, the answer is you aren't actually trying to solve a problem. You are playing a game.
Now, to figure out why we do this, we really need to understand transactional analysis. This is Berne's model of social interaction. He realized that as human beings, we are driven by literal biological hungers. We have this stimulus hunger for physical contact, which is so fundamental that infants without it can actually decline. And as we grow up, this basically morphs into a recognition hunger, just to be acknowledged. To feed these hungers, we trade units of recognition that Berne calls strokes. Now, a stroke can be positive, like a compliment, or negative, like an argument. But here is the fascinating part. We will happily accept a negative stroke over no stroke at all, just to feel seen. We play games to get those strokes.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the hidden trauma, then explore your 3 ego states, break down the anatomy of a game, examine the drama triangle, and finally chart the path to autonomy. We're going to build right from the foundational theory all the way up to some really practical, actionable solutions.
All right, let's get into section 1, your 3 ego states, the voices inside us. And this brilliantly illustrates the foundational theory here, which is that we don't just have one single personality. We actually have 3 totally distinct states that dictate exactly how we interact. First up, we have the parent. This originates from childhood. It's essentially the internalized voice of our actual parents or authority figures, and it tends to be critical or nurturing or rule-giving. Next is the adult. Now, this develops through experience. It's our objective reality processor. It's rational, it's analytical, and it focuses on present data. Finally, we have the child. This is our original, spontaneous self from infancy. It houses our creativity and intuition, but also, our rebellion and our raw emotions. And the wild thing is, we switch between these 3 states constantly, depending on what's happening around us. The absolutely crucial point here is how these states actually talk to each other, which Berne calls transactions. In a complementary transaction, you've got a smooth, logical, adult-to-adult exchange. Like you ask objectively, what time is the meeting? And they reply, 3 p.m. Simple, direct, no drama. But in a cross-transaction, communication just totally derails. You ask your adult-to-adult question about the meeting, but the other person responds from their child state directly to your parent state, snapping back with something like, why are you always nagging me? That sudden cross-up, that is exactly where psychological games begin. Moving right along to section 2, the anatomy of a game, uncovering the formula.
So once our communication crosses, we slip into these incredibly predictable sequences. And remember, these games are not fun. They are unconscious patterns with a hidden agenda. Every single game plays out linearly through these 5 steps. It starts with the con, an initial move or a complaint that looks totally innocent. This then hooks into the other person's gimmick, which is usually a vulnerability or a deep desire to help. That triggers a predictable response. But then comes step 4, the switch. This is the moment the game suddenly changes direction, causing total confusion. And finally, the payoff. This is the hidden emotional reward, where the player gets their strokes and subconsciously confirms a tragic, unconscious life script.
Let's look at the most classic example of this. Why don't you? Yes, but. You've definitely seen this workplace complaint scenario. Someone says they are completely overwhelmed with work. That's the con. You want to help. That's your gimmick. So you offer a perfectly good solution. Well, why don't you talk to your manager? They respond, yes, but my manager won't listen. So you offer another one. Yes, but I don't have time. They reject every single solution. Because here's the thing. The game is not about finding a fix. It's about receiving your attention and confirming their life script that they are helpless and literally nobody understands them. Now here's another one you will instantly recognize. Ain't it awful? This is basically a rapid-fire party game of mutual complaint. Someone says, oh man, did you see the news? The economy is terrible. And you reply, I know, it's just awful. What you're actually doing here is safely trading negative strokes by validating each other's pessimism about the world. I mean, it looks like small talk, but it's really a highly structured way to receive acknowledgement without taking the risk of genuine intimacy. Then there are deeper, honestly more destructive marital games, like If It Weren't For You. One partner says, I would have pursued my dreams if it weren't for you. Naturally, the other partner feels guilty and tries to make amends. But the unexpected plot twist of this game is that the blamer uses it specifically to avoid taking personal responsibility for their own choices. They literally use their partner as an excuse to avoid the terrifying prospect of actually trying and failing at their own unfulfilled dreams. Crazy, right? Okay, on to section 3, the drama triangle, choosing your role. Now, what's really interesting about this is how Stephen Cartman took Berne's work and identified the specific toxic roles we adopt to make these games function. First up is the victim. Their core belief is I'm helpless, and their hidden payoff is avoiding responsibility while seeking pity. Second is the persecutor. Their core belief is I'm right, and they blame or control others to get the payoff of feeling superior. And third is the rescuer. Their core belief is they need me, and they offer unwanted help to get the payoff of feeling indispensable. Literally every game requires players to fill these complementary roles. But here is the catch. These roles are not fixed at all. Players invite complementary roles, but then they actually shift positions mid-game just to keep the drama alive. For example, a rescuer might try to help a victim. But when the victim rejects the help, the rescuer suddenly switches into a persecutor, shouting, "After all I've done for you." Or maybe they become a victim themselves, complaining, "Nobody appreciates me." The triangle just keeps rotating, generating more drama and more negative strokes. Let's bring it home with section 4, the path to autonomy, breaking the cycle. So the really good news here is that we do not have to remain trapped by these unconscious life scripts. Breaking the cycle basically comes down to 3 actionable components of autonomy. Number 1 is awareness. You absolutely have to recognize the con. When you feel that familiar frustration bubbling up, stop and ask yourself, wait, what game am I playing right now? Number 2 is spontaneity. Refuse to play the complementary role. If someone plays the victim, just refuse to be their rescuer. And number 3 is intimacy. This means communicating clearly from your adult ego state, without any hidden agendas. State your needs directly, rather than trying to trick someone into fulfilling them. Eric Berne summarized the ultimate goal perfectly. He wrote, "Intimacy is the only completely satisfying answer, and it is available to anyone willing to stop playing games." You see, games might feel safe. They might provide predictable strokes, but at the end of the day, they're empty. Genuine intimacy requires us to be vulnerable and honest. And while that is psychologically difficult, for sure, it is literally the only true way to satisfy our deep human hungers. We've explored some incredible insights today, really unmasking the hidden drama of our everyday lives. But awareness is just the first step. Action is where the real change happens. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to evaluate your own life. What game are you going to stop playing today? Look closely at your daily interactions, refuse to take the bait, and choose connection over the con. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.